Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? It is not very hot here in North Carolina. It is, in fact, kind of miserable today. Hey, everyone. How are you? Forgive the unshaved appearance here. I'll make it formal by pulling my zipper up today. How are you? Yeah, fantastic. I hope everyone is well. Hey, we're back. I'm grateful that you're here. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm one of the co-founders here of the company. My name is Michael. You'll see my giant Mr. Potato Head in all of our social media platforms, in the YouTube videos. That's most likely my voice. My best friend and partner, he's kind of shy, so he keeps to himself and runs the nuts and bolts of it all. I'm here today to share what is essentially our life's work with you, and maybe make a convincing argument as to the importance of time in the markets that you trade. What I'd like to do is show you the results of an experiment that you were all unwilling participants in this week. That is to say, if we believe that markets are in fact predictable, then it should be relatively easy for me to prove to you that they are. And so people who take the trial, that sign up for the video demo each week, get access to a page which has the predicted turning times for the markets 2 days before we get to the webinar. And I'd like to share those with you here. I just pulled them up. So every Tuesday, at the absolute latest, we have an associate who uploads, excuse me, who uploads in Eastern time. By the way, that's the time our computers are programmed to right now. The times that markets are expected to go up or down. And so in the case of this DAX chart, for example, we have a panel of times, and the times don't change, they don't update, they don't disappear and reappear. There's no guru magic behind any of them. They're just there like a schedule. It's important to think of them as having been carved in stone. If we come back a year from now, those signals will be exactly where they are. Now, Chris, Priyat, can you guys still see? I have version 3, version 4 is coming out. Can you guys see the histogram guidebook in the handout section of the webinar? There should be a little booklet in a tab that says handouts. And so we've been covering this a lot in the live advanced training room the last several weeks. The idea that the times are the skeleton, the steel I-beams that are immutable, they don't move. But when we arrive at the times, there's a variable possibility. For example, and the software tells us this when we get to the times. We don't even have to think about it. But for example, if you arrive at one of the buying pressure times that I just mentioned here, so any of these white times, and if you have an aversion to white and blue, we can change the colors to whatever combination you want. But the premise of the experiment was When we arrive at any of these white times in the future, they will most likely be a pivot down that could go opposite, but more likely push the markets higher. They're projection buying times. And they're based on the premise of anomalous behavior patterns, something that happens a little too often. We were watching season 1 of an HBO series called True Detectives. Have any of you seen this? Spectacular acting, Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson, among others. And Shabab, there's a moment in the series where Harrelson's character starts to stay out uncharacteristically late in the evenings. He's a family man, has a beautiful young wife, 2 young kids, and she begins to notice an anomalous behavior pattern. Every night he's home at 2 in the morning. And what the software is doing is looking for those moments historically where markets like Bitcoin or the DAX or the Dow or oil futures or Tesla or any of these markets are moving up or down with irregular regularity. Why are you doing this at this time lately all the time? And it gives us a heads up here. So if we look at these times and what actually took place in the DAX, what's really interesting is that most of the time, the thing we were waiting for took place. And by that, if we just look at the pre-US market through the rest of the day, Chris, can you see when we go through each of the buy times, right? All of these signals on the bottom were either going to be, most likely would result in a push up or a push down. And if we just look for the lowest hanging fruit, right? Those times where it's obviously at the bottom of a pivot and it shoots up. And I want to be as detailed as I can be because I know the guru tricks don't work. They don't work on me. They shouldn't work on you. And you'll notice, Shabab, that on the German DAX, the Euro market here, right, that most of the time, those signals are pushing up. And then when they don't, there's a percentage of the time where the computer put a pattern 5. And it said, hey, it matched the conditions for our reversal, meaning we arrived at a higher high on the bar that we were expecting the buying signal. And so we're predicting it's going to go down instead of up. So look at 857. It matches the diagram almost perfectly. And it pushes down. Same thing happened at 1116. The computer said, whoa, 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 whoa. Those opposite conditions are here. We're at a higher structural high at 1116. And so many times when that happens, the market reverses and goes down. I'll warn the traders that this is one of those opposite times. And so the other times that are sort of staring in our face back at us are the selling times. And Shabab, if you look here, Chris, if we go back and pick the lowest hanging fruit, those obvious times that were actually highs in this market, right? We go through and we draw arrows there. What's starting to emerge is a highly improbable coincidence. Now, I met earlier in the week. I don't know if he had the peaches to show up here today. I'm pretty sure I spooked him off. Saif is not here. If you're watching this video, Saif, I told you so. We're going to look at the NASDAQ. I had a customer meet with me earlier this week, Shabab. He was in the webinar last week. He saw what happened in the markets. Then I met with him live. And together we watched the NQ, the NASDAQ, the 1 minute NASDAQ, the face ripper offer. And he watched 3 or 4 of those live signals do exactly what was expected at the times we were waiting for in the next hour. Up at this time, down at this time, up at this time. And he left sad. He left confused. He said, well, I have a few other companies that I'm looking at, all of whom sold lagging indicators, all of whom were guru based. He was using these weird some kind of WYSIWYG Renko bar, right? If you have to change all the bars and make all these different adjustments to get close to break even, there's something wrong. And so what I'm proposing today, and I hope I'm doing a really good job despite my giant shiny head, is that if I put the times out in advance and the software told us to look for a move down at 10:32, and we come back and we see what happened at that signal, some pretty bananas stuff is going on. And then right here at 9:57, there's a pattern 4. The program is saying, hey, one of those backwards conditions have just been met at 9:57, and I'm going to put that number underneath there and warn you that it's about to go up. And so I don't take any pleasure from that. I actually feel sad about the fact that that took place. That was the NQ. I was looking at the 1 minute NQ. Usually Bala yells at me if I'm looking at the wrong chart. Let me pull that back up. Yeah, then this is super important. CL, gold, DAX, Euro, 1 minute NQ. There we go, 10:32. And so in the totality of the morning session, right, if we look at those signals, there's definitely something going on. Now, let's look at other markets that you guys are interested in. Usually the ones that everyone's most excited about are like the E-mini S&P, and for some reason that data isn't loading. I'll tell you what, let me close this workspace here. I have a glitch in my Ninja where if there's something wrong with one market, it won't load the data for it. So I'm going to reload my Ninja with your permission, if that's okay, because I want to look at the markets you guys are most focused on. Sorry about that. And I'm going to take the sweater off because it is warm up here. Here we go. And then once we look at the S&P E-mini, we're going to go look at some larger time frame stuff, because holy cow, bull market out of nowhere. Despite unprecedented levels of personal debt, record levels of commercial real estate collapse, unprecedented levels of defaults on car loans, inflation where you can barely fill up your car to get to work. The stock market is doing great. It kind of has a 2020 feel to it, doesn't it? It kind of has a pre-COVID pull the rug out from underneath us feel to it. Unjustified exuberance. But you trade what you see, not what you think, right? So let's come up and load a 3 minute ES chart. Now I have data. Woo! And let's take a look. So now, my potato head off. Let's look at the experiment. Let me come here and just check my parameters are the right. They are 7:14.8. And we'll get the times for the ES just so you hold me accountable. Thursday ES 3 minute chart. 9:24, 10:03, 9:24, 10:03. Okay. So these are the times that we sent out on Tuesday. Yo, Earl, Benjamin, these are the times that we sent out on Tuesday for the ES on the 3-minute chart. We'll look at that one because it's got more signals, right? 5:18, 6:21, 7:06, 7:42, 8 o'clock, 8:36, 9 o'clock, 9:24, 10:03. Okay, look, 9:24, 10:03. So when you first look at that market, without any of the patterns on there, without any of the backwards notifications, what starts to emerge, right? Let's look at the lowest hanging fruit. 5:18 Eastern Time, 6:21 Eastern Time, 7:42 Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Now, there were some reports this morning, right? How many of you were there before the reports were released? Quite a few. GDP, unemployment, durable goods orders, trade balance, wholesale inventories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pretty big reports. Durable goods, that's right. The software had found an anomaly in time. Anomaly, anomaly, and what it had found was a behavior pattern, and it said, hey, from 8 o'clock to 8:36, from 9 o'clock to 9:24, from 10:03 to 10:42, these were all times that the software had seen these moves. So when we got here, 8 o'clock, 8:36, 9 o'clock, 9:24, 10:03, 10:42, 11:06, 11:36. Everybody with me so far? Somebody say yes if they understand what's going on. The stuff on the bottom has been here since Tuesday. Okay, now watch. If we take account, Bob, of the places we were waiting for moves to occur, right? What begins to emerge up to lunchtime, up to the 12 o'clock signal? And then I'm going to put lines here and here right now. Bob, does it appear? Harry? Hey, Ian. G'day, mate. Does it appear, Ian, I'm very glad you survived the writer's strike, by the way. I thought they were going to drag you and Taylor Sheridan out on the sidewalk along the Walk of Fame. Oh, hey, Charlie, I forgot to put you in the thing. Hold on. So now, if we start applying these filters and say, hey, were any of these times upside down times? Bob, look with me real quick. I'm going to turn the actual software on, which would have told us when the candle closed what to watch out for. Hey, Mary. And can everyone see at 212 where my cursor is? Matter of fact, let's draw some stuff. Watch. Lower low on the selling signal. If there's a lower low for any of these three signals, we expect it to reverse and go up. Prior swing low, a drop down, and then Priya, you see on candle 1 right here for 209, how it's the lowest low like this signal is? Well, in a book that I drew 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. This is what usually happens when those conditions are met. Price action in relation to time. It's called a pattern 4. And so I'm going to put a green arrow. Those are signals we used to draw by hand. But if I come into the tool, Bob, watch. Unchecking this box brings me a level of advancement where the program is now keeping track of where those signals were. And so now signals like 706 are being called out in real time. It's saying, hey, hey, this could probably be a high. And look at the signal at 3:39 this afternoon. I hope that you're enjoying this, and if not, I'm really sorry. I have a new modified book that will be released to the general public here shortly. I'm releasing it this week to my advanced class members. Hello to those of you here today. If we look at a pattern 5, in the book that you've had every webinar since 2016, we actually see what pattern 5s usually do. You see that signal there, Chris, Larry? There's a pullback initially, and then a rise up. And in the book, it says, hey, you can short this thing temporarily if you want in an uptrend. But what does it say? I recommend a 2-tick gap to use as a trend continuation level, and the market is traded as a breakout. So right here on the ES, if we went to 17.5, we could have been long right here using the book and exited at the close. At 212, we could have entered counter trend long just below the low with a stop and seen how much we could get out of that move. The software telling us this is an important time. Something special is going to happen here, like knowing the date of a solar eclipse. Put your special sunglasses on. It's a happy, happy solar day. And then get out $10, $15 later at 3:39. Whoa, pattern 5, what do I do? Well, if you shorted it, you could have lost $4.25. Put your stop just above the high. Then you could have re-entered at the breakout and gotten 4.75 back. Everybody with me so far? Well, Michael, what about that 109 signal? Well, there's a new sheriff in town for our patterns anyway. And I introduced, it'll be coming to the software sometime this year, pattern 9. And this will be loaded in the webinar next week. When you have 3 consecutive higher highs or 3 consecutive higher closes coming into the buying pressure signal candle, it usually reverses and goes down. The page actually says to treat it like a 5. Well, Ian, can you see 109? Candle number 1, higher close, higher high, higher close, higher high, higher close, higher high. And so if it meets the definition, Charles, it inherits that backwards arrow, right? So now, on the largest futures market, we knew to expect this at 109. We knew to expect this at 109. If you went short at 109, your risk above the candle, aggressive, was about $3. If you went short and you held it the full duration of the time cycle, the full wave of that pattern until the pattern 4 candle, it was $16. So an 8-to-1 risk reward return. Now let's look at the day in totality in relation to this experiment. How random was today? Right? Let's do a reality check. And this is where Saif's head exploded. And I think I might have done a bad job explaining it. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure he would have bought the program. The premise here is one of two possibilities, if I'm being totally honest with you. One of them is a little more palatable, so I'll give you that one first. The other one will bend your noggin a little bit. Option number one, institutions and their programmers, their algorithms are intimately involved on multiple time frames of every market and following through on pre-planned strafing runs, destroying other people's accounts, leading traders into stop runs, what market analysts call a liquidity event. We're going to look at Tesla in a second, and I'll show you something that might be a signal, might not be a signal. I'm not sure what it is for you. I think I know what it is. But option number one says, hey, a computer program is following these times and they keep showing up lately. Who's doing that? Okay. Answer possibility number one is it's the institutions. It's JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, the usual dirty fingered suspects. What's option number two? Option number two is where I've started leaning in my longer toothed years. There's an element of predestination in the reality of our universe. There is an intricately woven rhythm, balance, timing of everything in life. And if we peer beyond that veil just a little bit and we start asking the right questions, then we see there's this repetitive nature in everything. Ice age, global warming, ice age, global warming, woolly mammoths, you know, hairless cats. Woolly mammoths again, hipsters. It goes back and forth. This oscillatory positive, negative, positive, negative. And that exists at a low time level in the E-mini S&P and a higher time level. Now that one, if you think about it too much, your hair that was here starts to burn off your head. My hair used to be here, and I have been burning it off my skull with big predetermination thoughts. I can't explain this chart any other way, and the why, A or B, doesn't matter. The why doesn't matter. It happened on a day with 4 or 5 reports, big market moving reports. There appears to be a plan for all but a few of the signals, like the one at 12 o'clock, didn't work. The one at 12 o'clock didn't work. Okay. How many existing customers are here today? Just hit me with a big Y so I know, because we learned something today in my live advanced training room. It's a subscription service that has had some pretty good feedback. Okay, we have a Skype room for that. And earlier today, I taught the class about something called a amplifier trade. And what we learned was the following. When one of the signals goes through its stop, so if we have a sell signal and it keeps going up and it breaks that 1.5 average true range elastic stop that we see dotted blue lines above the sell signals, dotted white lines below the white signals. What we started to learn was if we see a signal broken, and this can be its own trade setup, we realize that today, pay direct attention to the next signal. So Chris, when this blue line was broken in gold today on a 1 minute chart, we actually had a short today. It ended up as a $400 winner, I think. We said, okay, that means the sellers who are normally here evaporated. They're gone. They didn't show up when we expected them to be here. So Daryl, what can we infer from that? Raja, Mike, what might we infer from that? No one's interested in shorting this monster right now. Someone lit the rocket and they know the fuse is short. No pun intended. And so we told people, watch for the very next signal. Watch for the very next signal. So in this instance, a failed signal is a filter for an actual signal. And we saw gold rise immediately into 230. Well, if you apply that to other markets, like the ES today, the 12 o'clock signal now has even more meaning. Why? Because it was an amplifier setup. When it hit that white line, what was it telling us about buyers, Barry? Juan, Rich, Bob, what was it telling us about institutional buying sentiment? Were they about to eat their lima beans and like it? Or were they scooping out some ice cream from the freezer? Hey, it's time for your lima beans. Not going to do that today. It's chocolate Sunday, Friday. And so the amplifier trade says, hey, I'm going to short this thing now. It's a pattern 2. I'm allowed to. I'm going to go short. It breaks through the white line again over here, and then we're filtered. We can't take the short because it never goes below the pattern 4 line. So we're rescued there. The punctures can actually be the precondition, part of your filter rules for a trade. So any questions about what happened in the E-mini S&P today at the times that we gave you on Tuesday? We've looked at the NASDAQ, we've looked at the ES. There's a couple of them going on here today. If we look at a daily chart, we'll go out to a larger time frame, right? First, we'll look at the 60, then we'll look at the daily. We'll get a sense of what's going on here. The trend is up. There are amplifier trades now that you know what they are. We've called them puncture trades in the past, and that's fine. You can go back and study that in last week's webinar if you want. I'm interested in new ideas all the time. And so amplifier trades existed at 2300 and then again at 2 a.m., and then again at 1 o'clock today, after a puncture. So the software said, hey, it's time for selling. They kept going. Watch for the rocket to keep going. And so now, just to reinforce that thing that we're talking about, right? There are amplifier trades. The trend has been up in the E-mini S&P on a 60-minute time frame. Those of you that trade binary options or options, this can be a way, because look, Hendrik, I can see the times in the future, right, brother? I can see what's coming up, January 26th, 28th, 30th. Here are the signals. No one else's software does this. They want you locked in to their month-to-month guru marketing schemes. And they're good schemes. So we take along at 2,300. There's a $68 move. We take along at 10 o'clock. It's a signal with trend. It's a break-even trade. We take along at 2 a.m. It has a maximum favorable excursion of over $1,000. I'm break even at 500 plus 500 at 1,000. So yeah, we lock in the plus 500 here. Yes. The next signal was a signal with trend on the 60-minute time frame, and we just closed at 4 o'clock today. That's another $17. So if all we're doing, Hendrik, is looking for the times in the direction of the trend, an interesting thing begins to emerge. And many of you have come up to me and said, you're experiencing this. You say, hey, Michael, I win somewhere about 50+% of the time as a trend trader, which is weird because most trend traders are closer to 40%. But when I win, my profit factor is anywhere from 1.5 to 2.0, which means my winners are 1.5 to 2 times larger than my losers. Any of you have similar stats in your trading? Does that line up with anyone else's experience that's here today? Mike says, yep, that's me. The settings are, excuse me, any settings I usually show, Ian, are the default values unless I indicate otherwise. 8, 714 calendars. Yeah. So it's working on a lower time frame, and I can even use this as a higher time frame filter. Some of you are HTFers, higher time frame filter people. So use a 60 or a 15 for that. Now, the only thing I do differently on it daily, I have found there's one setting for the ES on the daily that works better. So Ian, here's the default value that we were just looking at. If you come in here, change this to trading days 1, 2, 3, and 5. I almost never change the default values, but in this instance, it works. You see how it's got a much better prediction rate, Ian? So these were the signals that I've been showing each webinar for the daily. So I want you to see what we've done here. We had predictions on the 3, predictions on the 60, predictions on the daily. Daryl, it depends on what kind of options you're trading. You can look at a 1-minute ES chart if you're trading short-term binaries. I know they offer different windows. Now, I haven't kept up with it as closely as others have, but generally the 3 is pretty whippy or choppy, or the ES, forgive me. You broke into my mental groove, and now I have to slow down and go backwards. The ES is choppy enough where if you used a 1 minute time frame, which is about as low as you can go, well, let's go down there. That's not even true. Let's look at a 15-second chart. We'll load 3 days of data onto a 15-second chart. So right here, Daryl, pretty small time frame, right? A lot of granularity. I'll add the indicator, but now watch, I'm going to sneak up on some settings. I'm going to set the trading days to 1 with a swing strength of 5. Only look at what happened yesterday and project those times forward. So Daryl, you see how those moves are really short right now? If I spread it out, it looks better, right? So the answer to your question, what time frame is better, is really a hard one to answer. And I tell people the answer is more related to what are you comfortable trading? There are knuckleheads in the room right now who trade daily swing options. They're looking at 45-day calls. And then some of you are trading 9-second E-mini NASDAQ charts. Who's right? All right, this is an important distinction to make. Who's right? The 9-second person or the 45 days out option person? They're both right. They're both comfortable. So Daryl, it's a deflection back, right? It's not the best question, not the best answer to your question. The time frame, the lowest time frame you're most comfortable trading will give you the lowest risk and the most number of opportunities to get right back in the game if there's a stop out. I have found over time, the people who begin using the software trade on the smallest time frames. They get a ton of experience with the repetitive nature of it. And as they're learning how to use the programs, they go from a 1 minute to a 3 minute to a 5 minute to a 1 hour to a 4 hour to a daily chart. Have any of you that are here as customers followed that path since you bought the software? Is that a realistic story, or am I telling myself that as a narrative to sound smart in the webinar? Juan says, yeah, that's my path. Yeah, Priyat says the same thing. Okay, so the lowest time frame you're comfortable trading is the one that you should trade. So, fun fact, on the ES right now, on the daily chart, this thing has not slowed down from the signal on the 19th. And the very first day that we saw any kind of pushback was yesterday, right here. So in directions of trends, looking at options, there would have been a crossover trade here where it closed below the moving average, a $48 loss. There would have been a signal with trend on the 18th, exit by the 1st, a counter trend entry with a stop below the low, exit here, a counter trend entry and an immediate stop, a loss here, a signal with trend, exit on the 20th, a short right here, and a small stop out, minus $8, a signal with trend and an exit on the 1st, a short right here, which gets as low as $50, almost $2,500. We'll call that a break-even trade because it does come all the way back up. A signal with trend on the 11th, an exit on the 22nd. A low risk short on the 22nd, exit with a $16 loss. A long on the 11th, an exit on the 19th, and now a aggressive counter trend short, minus 17. So plus 94, 133, 56, 32, 4, 130, 55, minus 17, minus 16, minus 8, minus 48, minus 50. So all of the time frames now are being covered. If I'm feeling really froggy, let me see. Let's see if we can get a weekly chart. And let's load the default settings. So Ian, this is the weekly chart for the E-mini S&P using the same settings, the default settings. And what I'm going to do is put the daily settings in instead that we added. 1, 2, 3, 5 on a weekly chart. Yep, that's the stuff. So there's something I've never done before. Just so you go back in the webinar, I'm going to get 100 emails lately. You showed a weekly chart. What were your settings on there? Oh my God. There it is. Take them, copy them. Same settings as the daily chart. Guys, how long is this market supposed to go up on a weekly chart? March 1st. All of February. If we pull the signals out, it looks a lot like our daily chart. So, all the way down from a 3-minute to a 60 to a daily to a weekly chart. What do you want to trade? You want to slide your 401k from SPY to QQQ back and forth? We have a guy here who does it. Yes, if you put the patterns on here, it'll show the 5s and 4s as well. Okay, any questions about that so far and how we can use the tools with predictive times to find entries ahead of the fact? No? Moving on. I'm going to let this workspace load up. It's going to take a second, so give me one moment. What I'm hoping, some of you who aren't customers, you're talking to Bob, you're talking rather to Dave and Charlie. What I'm hoping is you'll start to see that all of the stuff every other company is trying to convince you to do is horse garbage. The lagging stuff, the price action, watching the trend lines and drawing on the charts and this and that and the other thing, it's like there's so much work involved and none of it is based on what is really happening. Again, on this shoulder, banks are running the world. They're manipulating the markets. Their algorithms are responsible for this. On the other shoulder, this King Solomon, Ecclesiastes, everything that has been will be again. There is a naturally occurring or a deist-driven plan in life. And if we peer just beyond that veil, this rhythm of up and down in markets and society and climate, whichever place you look, has a predetermined tilt to it. And so we're looking at some of the other time frames here. I want to just review some of them with you. We've got Apple on a daily chart, and we saw this thing slowing down and dropping actually until February 5th. We're just starting to see that slow down right here and consolidate. So maybe an opportunity for puts in Apple until February 5th. If we look at bonds on an hourly time frame, we can see that from the close today until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're looking for bonds to rise. ZB is the future symbol. And so we arrived at that symbol here at 4 o'clock, looking for a potential push up tomorrow until 10 o'clock in bonds. Bitcoin is interesting. If you're looking at cryptocurrencies, there's a special setting on this chart that I want you to take note of. Everything is the same as default, except where it says calendar days. I want you to trade it, Daryl, to trading days. All of you have, if you've got Ninjatrader, you have a free Coinbase connection. And so look at the signals now, but change it from calendar to trading days. And Daryl, look at where the signals are coming in and going out on Bitcoin. If you're a customer in my training room, you know that we can take any two signals and create a partition. And now we can see there was an anticipated sell on the 19th, and I advertised potential long on the 23rd. So if we look at Bitcoin, there's an interesting thing that's happening right now. Number one, there's a very low risk long opportunity right below this base of support. Number two, it's doing the same thing that the last buying signal did, only in an even tighter range. When it came time to buy, Daryl, no one's really interested. Henrik, it's not going anywhere. And that's very reminiscent of something called a distribution phase. When the market is falling from a high, here we'll zoom it down so we can see. When the market is falling from a high, when we get to green signals and they go sideways, it's called a redistribution phase. People are basically offloading more and more contracts. And that's what's happening right here. So good chance Bitcoin will drop again on the 27th. We'll see when we get closer to that. If we look at NVIDIA, I mean, this thing, I don't even know what to do anymore with NVIDIA. Anything Nancy Pelosi is involved in, I'm learning I should just borrow as much money as I can and buy it, because my original target from the signal on the 8th, the maximum was $560, and now it's coming up into $628. Now, if you remember what I showed you earlier today, there's a very large possibility in the book that I gave you that we're moving into a higher high on the 29th of January. We're moving into a pattern 5 on the 29th. If you were going to take profits in NVIDIA, I would suggest holding them until the 28th or the 29th if you're still long in a position. If you like excitement and you feel like a put might be in your future, I would watch for that on the 29th coming into NVIDIA. And then if you want more calls, wait for a breakout above the high of either the 28th, the 29th, or the 30th, whichever candle is higher. Does that make sense, everybody? So, yeah. SPY, I publicized this one on the social media groups. There was a pattern 5 on the 11th of Thursday. I told everyone, 11th of January, I told everyone I was expecting it to drop down. It did. But if we broke this white line on the 78.9 to look for a long, it arrived at a split. And I'm expecting SPY to drive up again until the 26th, until tomorrow. End of the week, we're going to close up near the highs on SPY, I'm pretty sure. That chart you don't need to know about. This chart you don't need to know about. That one. Here's oil on a 60-minute time frame. This is why your gas is so expensive at the pump. The signal today was a pattern 5 at 5 o'clock this morning. Now, again, compare it to the book that we just looked at. The software tells us what to do. The book tells us what to do. When you get to 4 o'clock in the morning and it shows a pattern 5 and there's a dip, you can sell the dip, put your stop right above the high. You can scalp some off the top. And then, Bala, what's the smarter move with a pattern 5 that is moving in the direction of up? What's the better play? Long. When it breaks out. And so right here, we could have had a long position waiting for us.
Order submitted.
Just on the other side of this high. And now we're going to exit 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, exactly. Good answer.
Order canceled.
Gold on a 60-minute chart. Again, another signal coming at 7 o'clock tonight in 2 hours, lasting until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning on gold. And then the euro US dollar. That's not good. My initial estimation was that the euro US dollar would go up. Well, fun fact, the closing price of the last signal day was right here. And Bala, do you see how that price has been acting like resistance this entire time? That is a fairly, we're not interested in buying signal time. So it feels as though they're setting up the euro now, a distribution phase right here. And then the next sell signal is on February 8th on the euro US dollar. Any other questions? We did have FedEx on a weekly chart. The last signal was a short on December 8th. The next one is a long on April 5th. If you're part of my live advanced class, you know that we can take any two signals and divide them into punctures. The candle closest to the line is the signal. And so we have a long position in FedEx now until February, the end of February, beginning of March. Long time frame. ITW, Netflix has been fun. This is my Netflix daily chart. The settings for Netflix are 714.8. I have 10 years of signals loaded. And again, if you're a member of my live room, you know that the next potential call date was January 18th. And now this is the sell signal. So if you buy calls in tech stocks, you start to see from October 16th until October 24th, from November 6th until November 20th, from December 11th until January 12th, and now there's this intermediary signal that we can get ahead of from January 18th until January 24th. And all of these signals were available to us in the future. You can look here and see, I already know where those moments in time are. There's no mystery here. Don't you want a life with less mystery where it counts? You know, your wife, hey, I got something at the store this afternoon. You want to see it? Well, what is it? Well, close your eyes. That's a good surprise. Which way is Netflix going to go tomorrow? Bad surprise. Yes, your longtime second removed uncle left you $1 bazillion in his will. Good surprise. Stop filled. Bad surprise. You can know these times in advance. And so I just have all these different setups and markets, and I'm just watching for these opportunities. And I know when to look in the future for the signals. It's pretty easy when you assume that the game is rigged. It's pretty easy when you assume that there's an element of predetermination to it, right? But you have to believe. Home Depot, that's another one we've been watching. Can everyone see the signal on my chart so no one can say they didn't see it or know about it when I show it to them weeks later from now? Home Depot. Bum 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 bum. Let's build something together. Interesting. Well, how high might Home Depot go? Well, let's take a look. When the one on November 6th went up, that's as high as it went before it got to the sell signal. When the signal on the 11th went up, that's as high as it went. When the signal on the 5th went up, that's as high as that one went. So now what I can do, Priyat, I already have this day, I have this day, I have this day, which means I'm expecting it to attack its high at 362. I'm expecting it to attack 371.13 and or maximum 375. The minimum is a retest of this high before the 2nd of Friday. Any questions? No? Okay. Yeah, so that's where we're at. I've been trying to convince people for the better part of 15 years. I get discouraged a lot. I get angry. I get angry still. I don't know why I still do. I think it's like the movie you watch where the teenagers are trying to escape the murderer and they run into the woodshed full of chainsaws and sharp blades. And you go, oh my God, why doesn't someone go in the house and call the police? You're angry that someone's being so dense when there's clearly a better, why don't they get in the car and drive away? The van is right there. And so I get upset. I lose my patience and I lose my temperature. I'm cold-blooded. I lose my temper a lot when the thing that people have been praying to, whatever God they pray for, Please let me be profitable in the market. I'll do whatever you want me to do. And then they see these things happen. They have an answer that has its roots in nature, in the universe, in the pulse, the vibration of how everything is working. It has its roots in potentially the machinations of the world's most powerful financial institutions. It's either Jesus or Jamie Dimon, and both of those people have it in them to answer that prayer with this software. And so I always get to the end of these webinars and I have to remind myself, the people who are supposed to find this, find it. And the ones who'll never understand it won't, or take a long time to, like Shabab said, it took them years to figure out this was real. So if you are here today and this is your appointment and you realize that I've done nothing guru-like, I couldn't have manipulated these times. You had them 2 days ago. You had the histograms 2 days ago. The program that we're talking about is TachEon Warp. TachEon Warp is our flagship product. It's the one almost everyone uses. And so about 98% of people start with Warp and they get to this webinar, and the price is $2,495 for 2 licenses with the Ninjatrader platform. If you click on the orange button, you'll see that there's an opportunity to join a live training room. I am now leading the live training room. I would very strongly, highly encourage those of you that are not in my live room to join it. Come for at least 1 or 2 months. The most important things I've ever taught are being taught right now, and they're having immediate, drastic effects in people's P&Ls. So please contact Rachel or I about that and get in that room. If you don't want it, when you sign up, we meet 9 to 11. I'm going to have Rachel change the times. 9 to 11, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Sometimes longer. We were there till almost 2 o'clock last week. But if you want to come and learn what I'm showing you, see those signals live in the market. We had some really good ES trades today. Join up with us. If you don't want that, you don't need it. Don't get it. You won't hurt my feelings. This is a purchase agreement. It does say all sales are final. Please don't send me a note 60 days from now telling me your great aunt Ethel has leprosy and she needs a life-saving surgery and you'd like a refund. You will not get a refund. When you sign up with us, we commit the full force of our organization to you, training, service, availability, calls in the middle of the night, whatever you need from us. And it's unfair for you to ask us to do all that and then take it back. So if that's not something you're interested in, we understand, but if you want that kind of support and involvement in community, we're all in if you are. There's a promo code area. I'm lazy and haven't changed the price yet. The name of the promo code is WARPOFF, Whiskey Alpha Radio Papa Oscar Frank Frank. And that's going to take $500 off the price for you tonight. Comes with 2 lifetime licenses, lifetime updates. It also comes with video training archive. It'll come with live installation if you want that too. White glove go-to meeting installation support to get you started. If you need some basic Ninjatrader training, we can do that for you when you get set up. And yeah, tomorrow you can know what times to trade the E-mini S&P, the DAX, oil futures, bonds, gold, wheat, corn, the euro dollar, the New Zealand dollar, the Canadian US dollar, gold futures, Netflix, Nvidia, all of it, Bitcoin, XRP, whatever we can port your data from into NinjaTrader, you can know reasonably around this accuracy tomorrow when those markets are going to go up or down. If you don't want to know, please look in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I really trying to do here? The answer may be you're trying to hurt yourself. A lot of people self-harm with trading. Alcoholism, not too unlike gambling addictions. And if you sense you might be in that quagmire, please reach out, get help. You need to get information. We can send you information on where you can go for help with that. Because if you don't want to know the times tomorrow, your market is likely to go up or down, and there's no guarantee there's going to be this accurate tomorrow, but we've been here 15 years. What are you doing? What are you waiting for? Like the guy who's on his roof of his house, a canoe comes by, a boat comes by, a helicopter comes by, and when he dies, God comes over and says, "What happened?" He goes, "I was waiting for you to save me." I did. I sent you a boat, a canoe, and a helicopter. I hope you saw all of those in tonight's presentation and you got the confirmation you needed to move forward with us. We would love to be a part of that. For those of you that are customers, please sign up to my live training room. Ron and Colin are now full force, full bore, fully dedicated to our new trading division, and we're getting a lot of great information from them about setups that we can teach you in the live training room that I've head up. And so everything is better than it was a few months ago, and it's only going to get better throughout the year. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine upon your face. May the valleys rise up to meet you. May the mountains lay low before you. I believe in you. I am for you. I stand in agreement with you for all the things that you want, for the goals that you've set for yourself this year. I vibrate with you at that level, that manifestation, the vision that you have for yourself, all the good things that are good for you. I know you can do it, and I'm proud of you for how far you've come and how far you'll go. And together, there's nothing we can't accomplish with these tools and with our communities. So thank you for that. I love you all. We'll see you next week. And if anyone needs help, I'll be in the live rooms of our Skype communities for the live advanced training room. I'll be in the Aurora room, the Force room, and the basic community group. Please, any questions you have, tag me there and I'll be happy to help you out. Have a great night and welcome on board to our new customers.